Distillation is a purification method that leverages differences in boiling points. You boil a mixture and condense the vapor off to the side. Compounds with lower boiling points would boil first, and their vapor be condensed and removed first. Compounds with higher boiling points would boil later, and their vapor would be condensed and removed later. To begin a distillation, you add the liquid mixture to a round bottom flask. Because we're going to heat to boiling, we're going to add a boiling chip. Okay, just one does the job. So, one right in. Alright, now we're going to build the distillation apparatus. So it's not quite reflux. We're boiling and we want the vapor to go off to the side to separate from what's left in the flask. So we need what's called a still head. So this is next, it's closest to the heat source, so I'm going to grease that joint. We're going to be using a reflux condenser, and it's going to be off to the side. So rubber bands can be really helpful to secure everything. So I'm going to do this. Sometimes those rubber bands snap after they've been just sitting in the lab for a while. Now if you're paying attention, I'm building this long, heavy apparatus over the footprint of the stand. That helps. Okay, so in the joint of the still head that's still open to the air, I'm going to put this is called a thermometer adapter. Thermometer adapter right in. That will allow me to add a thermometer and close off the system this direction. So we're gonna boil, vapor's gonna come up, it'll be blocked, it'll go over, feel the cold jacket, and come down. So what we're gonna do now is add a spout to the end. Again, rubber bands kind of help get all this stuff so that it's not going to fall. So see, that might just do it. Okay. Alright, now we need to hook up to water. Thermometer, it's red, it's an alcohol-based one. The scale is in Celsius. That's going to go right through the thermometer adapter, and I'm going to put the bulb of it just below the side jet. I want to know the temperature of the vapor as it's going by. Next, I'm going to connect the water. I want water into the jacket at the lowest point and out from the higher point. So from the faucet to the lower point, the return tube from the higher point, down the drain, and now I'm going to get that going. And the condenser tube is filling up nicely. We're going to apply heat. So we'll add the heating mantle, and we'll bring that up. In fact, I'm going to bring all of this up just a bit. It's a little bit of a dance in the lab. I want to have plenty of room to collect my distillate, or what comes over. Alright, so I want the heating mantle to touch the flask as much as possible. There's the whole setup. Thermometer. Alright, so I'm going to turn the heat on. The idea is that the lower boiling compound will boil first, come over, and be collected first. So I'm going to collect a couple of fractions. You always in distillation collect the first few drops and discard it. That's called the forerun. When the temperature seems to stabilize, then I switch beakers and I collect what I call the main fraction. Alright, so I'm going to get the forerun ready to go underneath the spout, and then I'll be able to switch my flask like so. Okay, so as you can see, there's some boiling in the flask, but the vapor has not yet gone up into the still head, so we're going to be watching this really closely at this point. So the vapor is sort of just entering the neck of the flask right now, and as it crosses the bulb of the thermometer, I expect that the temperature is going to rise rapidly. Right, so we're kind of keeping an eye on that. Now I'm really seeing some vapor right in the neck. You see little puffs almost. Yes, now the thermometer, the temperature is climbing over like 25, 26. 28. It can shoot up sometimes, so you just got to really pay attention. Now it's really rising rapidly. Here's the vapor line again. Once it gets to the neck of the still head there,
once the temperature has
jutting neck,
stabilized, I'm going to switch the
then we're
flasks.
going to start to see condensation and drips down the side. That's called the distillate, what comes there. And I'm getting some condensation in the neck of the still head. Arm there. And let's try to watch what's going to happen here. So I'm collecting what's called the forerun. Depending on the purity of your mixture, you might just collect a few drops. And I'm going to let that distill until the flask is close to dry. You never want to distill the flask to dryness because that is a risk for fire, as the last little bit of liquid can overheat and reach its flash point. And you can probably see there's quite a bit still in the flask, so I gotta keep going. Now with the distillation, there's a little bit of residue in the flask, but I can see that the level of the liquid has gone down a lot, and it's just a little bit left there. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to drop the heat source, remove it. Now you can see you always want to leave a little liquid there.